Hey, what is up, everybody? It is Uncle Mad here today with our reactions to the Tennessee Titans New York Giants season opener yesterday at Nissan Stadium. The live game day vlog has been out since this morning. I did a live stream last night. Great show. 30 minutes of me sadly, morosely being bummed out about the Titans and the way they lost the game and just sad, probably a little slurry, maybe some not in the clearest of heads. Turns out I was never live. I don't know what happened. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I've been trying to go live for like the last 10 minutes too, and I just now figured it out. So if you've ever watched any of these, heard the bad audio, seen the bad video sometimes, I clearly can't do this half the time. So I need a producer. I don't have any money. I can't pay anybody. Somebody come in and just figure out how to get these streams up and how to get me on. Just let me get on here and talk. Somebody else do the hard part for me. Out there to the community. That's an offer. Free. You get no pay. Because I get no pay, so. But here we are a day later. It's probably better in this way. I've had more time to think about the game, to reflect on the game, to look at, what actually happened and think about what could have been done better. I think I have my work computers letting me know things are happening. I think we have a better concise view of what happened in the game and what the Titans can take from it. Good, bad, negative all around. So, I decided, instead of just rambling incoherently like I did last night on the live stream that never went live, I'm going to make, I stole this from a friend of mine. He used to do this when he had to give his assessment of, performances. Sandwich. We're going to do pros, cons, and pros. Make a sandwich all together that way. So let's get right into it. Pros for the Titans game. The number one thing that stuck out to me the most, especially in the first half, was we were still able to get pressure on Daniel Jones. As I mentioned in the pregame preview, my biggest concern with Harold Landry being out injured was that was going to kill our pass rush. We weren't going to be able to get the same level of pressure we were able to get last season, which helped our secondary out, which took our defense from being one of the worst in the league to a top 10 defense. The pressure was still there. The Giants had some answers in the second half. They slowed down the rush a little bit. They were getting the ball out of Daniel Jones' hands faster. They were relying on Saquon Barkley more, but Rashad Weaver stepped up huge. Jeffrey Simmons looked like Jeffrey Simmons. We got a little bit of contribution from some of the other guys in there. David Long was doing a lot in the pass rush, surprisingly, but the pressure was there. We got what we needed to out of that regard, so that's encouraging looking forward that, that didn't go off a cliff quite as badly might have with Harold Landry being out for the season with the ACL injury, so good news there. Another pro from the game, Kyle Phillips, looked incredible. Of the two rookies that are coming into the wide receiver core, obviously we got one that we think is hopefully going to be the bigger, more spectacular player, but Kyle Phillips is that kind of gritty, reliable guy you can always find underneath, guy you can always find as your slot receiver that we've been desperate to get, going back to bringing in Adam Humphries, going back to, signing some other guys we've tried to be in. He's that kind of slot guy who can just get you 6 to 7 yards, get some extra targets, get some extra catches that we haven't had. He looked great all day today. He and Tannehill definitely seem to have a rhythm together. So that's really nice to build on. Good thumbs up there. Speaking of the passing game, that was another pro, is I think, especially in like the early part of the game when we were kind of in what you would consider to be the scripted part of our offense, the first 20 or so plays that they've probably been working on in practices for weeks. You could definitely see, I think, some of the Tim Kelly influence on the offense. There was a lot more creativity in the passing game, a lot in the routes the receivers were running. There were a lot more design plays to get guys open. There was one to Burks where it was clearly a lot of motion going him up to get open coming the other way. The touchdown to Dontrell Hillard was clearly a play that was designed to get him open in that right spot to get the touchdown, and it worked to perfection. Positives. Good to see those things happening. Good to see those things working. As we got out of the script, we'll get to that later. As we got out of the script, started to see a little bit less of that, but during the early part of the game where we were kind of in what I would call the scripted plays, those first 20 plays or so, you could definitely see some positive signs. You could definitely see the wrinkles that I think Tim Kelly is bringing into our offense into effect there, so that was good to see. Really, for a stretch in the game became a duel between the punters. So, Brett Kern, great servant to the club, huge player to have here for all the years he was here. It was crazy. I didn't realize this till they put a stat out towards the end of the preseason that he has played for every single head coach in Tennessee Titans franchise history. That's crazy. For some reason, it's just one of those things. Once you hear it, you know it to be true. But if you'd asked me before I saw that stat, I would have sworn there was at least one punter that filled in somewhere between the Craig Hentrick era and the Brett Kern era. But bummer to see him go. It's sad to see him go. But Stonehouse, the new guy, he was crushing it. There was a few he crushed so far that I thought he outkicked it, but our coverage was great. We got down there, kept flipping the field, but their punter was kind of doing it to us too. So it was a back and forth between the two punters for a stretch of flipping the field, putting the other team in deep. But Kern had kind of lost the leg a little bit. He could still pin teams deep when we were trying to do the pinpoint coffin corner punts, but anytime we were deep in our territory, he wasn't getting it out as much as we needed to. Stonehouse flipped the field several times today, so I think, as long as he can keep that up, that's going to be a good, bittersweet, but a good decision for the Titans to have him there. So, but, anytime that one of the pros is that you've got a good punter, that you had a good punting duel going, obviously that's probably not a game that went the way you wanted it to go to. Let's jump into the cons. Now, the first one I want to talk about is one that I didn't necessarily have on my mind last night. I was more just bummed at the game. I wasn't thinking about the sort of deeper issues that were causing the problems in the game. A lot of issues, and I'll combine two things I think were the two big issues for us was once we got out of that, once we got out of that scripted phase of the offense, the play calling, the decision making got a little wonky, got a little questionable. The biggest problem that came from that was we were 3 of 11 on third down in the game. That's like 2020 Titans stuff coming back to roost, is not being able to stay on the field when you've got the ball. And you can even track that to first down. I looked at, there was one stat I saw today that where it was like the most runs on first down. We were like third, and we're only picking up like 3.1 yards per carry on those plays. Giants were first, and they were picking up like 9.1 yards per carry on first down or something crazy like that. But when you're starting in 2nd and 7, when you're starting in 2nd and 10, 2nd and long, but you're not getting much on the ground, you're just guaranteeing yourself you're going to have tough third downs. And even when we had 3rd and shorts, the play calling was just terrible. I mean, the big one, everybody knows it. Everybody saw it. Everybody who watched the game knows the tight end sweep to Cheek. Great. You've got this great athletic tight end that you're wanting to get involved in the offense, that you're wanting to find ways to get the ball in his hands. That was a terrible decision. A lot of people were like, how do you not give that ball to Derrick Henry? And I even saw some people defend the play call saying everybody knew the ball was going to Derrick Henry, so they tried to do something a little different. That's a terrible play call. We know from the history of the Titans, I've been trying to figure out what game it was, but there was a famous Titans tight end sweep that I believe we called on like a 2-point conversion attempt that was just a complete disaster. Did not work at all. Got completely blown up. So for us, again, it was crazy. Everybody's so into analytics now in football, and I can't imagine if you look at the analytics of how often does a tight end sweep actually work. I got to imagine it's less often than not. Is that a phrase? Did I say that right? I can't imagine it's very effective, so I'm surprised in the analytics era of football that that's something that would still be in the playbook. We're going to play action to Henry. If everybody thinks Henry's getting the ball, get Tannehill on the corner running. Giants did that several times with Daniel Jones because that's about the only thing Daniel Jones could do effectively was bootleg runs. So why not do that? Give Tannehill the chance where maybe he can go with his legs, or maybe you give him an option in the flat. Kyle Phillips, who was getting open all day, would have been nice there. Put Cheek out in the flat as the option to throw it to him and not hand it to him. That was a disaster. That was one of the key points, one of the turning points in the game. Just kind of keeping with the kind of coaching, the weird little sequence at the very end. We drive down, we get into field goal range. We've got like 17 seconds left and one timeout. You'd think there'd be enough time left to run one more play, pick up a few more yards, give just Randy a little more space for his kick, and then we kind of just seemed like the team was stuck between two minds what to do next. The offense tried to run up on the ball and get a play off, and then all of a sudden we have to burn that last time out before getting to delay a game and moving the ball back. And so there's just a sequence of confusion, and you never want something like that when you're coming up on trying a game-winning kick. Kickers, that's all we hear about. That's why they take the timeouts. That's why they freeze the kickers. That kickers are so mentally fragile. You don't want to do anything that's going to like disrupt the flow, disrupt the preparation, disrupt that sequence there. And the whole not sure if we were going to run another play and then deciding we wanted to run a play and then having to take the timeout and burn it and then coming back out and doing what we did was all not great. I saw Vrabel's press conference today. He explained it that they had told the team if they got to a certain point in the field, they were going to go field goal. Once they got to a certain line, that was it. They weren't going to try anything else. They were going to go field goal. They got to that point, and so either the offense was thinking that was it, the field goal team was going to come on, and then last second our coaches decided maybe let's try one more play out or what. There's definitely a mix up there from what Vrabel had told them that didn't get through clear, so then we had to take the timeout. And I didn't really notice this in sequence, but I've seen on the replay and I've seen other people point this out. After the timeout, we come out. Vrabel said he went to Randy, said, which hash do you want on? Randy wanted it on the right hash. We come out, we run the play where Tannehill takes a snap and he kind of weirdly shuffles to get it over to that right hash, but he's also dropping back instead of just like trying to stay where he is. He kind of goes back. He lost 2 to 3. I've seen other people say even like maybe he dropped like 4 yards going back there to take the knee on the other hash. Then we get up, we get the spike. And I've seen people say that the hook wasn't so bad that if it was a few yards closer, it might have still gone in. Like if Tannehill hadn't dropped back 4 yards when he took that knee to set up the positioning for the kick, it might have been good if it had been that 4 yards closer. I don't know. That I don't know. That it is a little weird. You usually want to try to keep your yardage. Felt like they should have run a play, though. Got as much yardage as they could. Not wasted the timeout and put themselves in a weird spot to have to rush everything. Because you never want to rush kickers. You never want to rush those into the game sequences. And so the kind of mismanagement there was a little alarming. Like, once again, a little bit of a coaching issue. That one's a little bit, to me, probably more on Vrabel than, the offensive play caller, who I'm not going to name. But I've decided that. I've decided I'm no longer going to speak his name until he's gone from the team. He should be gone. I mean, at this point in time, not only his track record with us over the last season and this first game, but he's got a history before coming to the Titans of being a bad play caller, and he's still a bad play caller. So I won't speak his name until he's gone. But I don't think he's the one that kind of jumbled up that end-of-game sequence, and that's got to be the head coach in my mind. And if the head coach isn't the one who's kind of making those decisions right there, I call into question, why not? Why is that being passed off to somebody else? But I think it's Vrabel. But at the same time, the way he explained it, I understood his logic, but at the same time, it kind of jumbled things up, rushed the kick probably more than we wanted to, and put Randy into a bad spot. I'm not going to blame Randy. I know it's easy to jump on a kicker when they miss a kick like that. 47-yard field goal is something an NFL kicker should be able to make, but it's not like it's just walking up and banging it through the uprights. Everything has to go right. Kickers have their whole sequence. They have their whole mindset. We as a team should have done better than to put him in that situation. I mean, if you go back, if you watch the game day vlog, which is live on my channel now, I even said at halftime when we were up 13-0, that wasn't enough. We did not capitalize on how bad the Giants were in the first half. We should have been up 20-0, 24-0. We had so many chances and just squandered them away with inefficiency and not being able to get into rhythm on offense. I'll add that as a negative. I guess we're never going to go back to it in the NFL, but it does feel like you can see, and was a lot of other games too, it wasn't just the Titans. They looked like a team who hadn't played together yet before at certain times, And when you're Aaron Rodgers, when you're Tom Brady, when you're Patrick Mahomes, when you're, maybe even Josh Allen's getting to this point, Lamar Jackson maybe you don't need to play in preseason. You've got it all under your belt. You've done it all before. You know everything. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is anywhere close to being that level of quarterback. I don't think he's as bad as people thought he was coming off the end of last season, but he's a veteran, so yeah, he knows the stuff. He knows everything, but at the same time, we basically were making so many major changes to our offense this year that to not have him play any in the preseason just now in retrospect seems crazy. I mean, we basically had, outside of Tannehill and Derrick Henry, an entirely new group at the skill positions, all new receivers, all new tight ends, new third down running back mostly in Dontrell Hilliard, some new offensive linemen. So there was things that were out of rhythm. There's things that out of sorts where it's like, maybe if we played a few snaps together in preseason, we'd be a little more ahead of where we are now, but that's neither here nor there. Another negative I'm going to go into, the schedule that's coming up next. It's just doesn't get any easier. That's probably what's most frustrating because, ultimately, like, the Titans didn't look bad necessarily. They weren't terrible. It was just frustrating because it was such a winnable game against such a beatable opponent. And you kind of squandered it. You kind of gave it away. That's what's more frustrating about this. I had flashbacks to the Texans game last year where pouring down disgusting rain show, and we just lose that game. And kind of felt like that. we didn't really do anything to lose this game. We had the one muff punt, but like we didn't have turnovers. Tannehill was very efficient with the ball. We protected him really well. The pass blocking was really good. Just couldn't stay on the field, couldn't get points, couldn't finish drives. And this is a team you had to do that against because everything that's coming up next, it's not going to get any easier. Next up, next Monday night, 1 week from today, Monday Night Football at Buffalo. Bills Mafia is going to be going nuts for a big primetime game coming off the win they got in Los Angeles last week. I'm not so sold on if that was as much the Bills are really, really good as much as the Rams, I think, have taken a step back. Their receiver core is now depleted with OBJ being gone, with Robert Woods being on the Titan, with Van Jefferson being out injured. Matthew Stafford did not look right. There's talk that, he had to have this little elbow procedure, but everything's fine now. He didn't look like a quarterback who could throw the right way. Something looked off about him. Teams coming off the Super Bowl always, have a little kind of reset period. So they've got enough talent, especially on defense, where they can probably get it right and figure it out. But I took more away that LA was not good than I took that Buffalo was good. But Buffalo is very good. Adding Von Miller to that team, he still has got the crazy engine, looks like a rejuvenated player. You hope with the pass protection we had up this week that would be a good sign for him, that we can maybe contain him, but he's a lot more threatening than anything New York sent at us. Week after that, we got Vegas, who didn't look that great in the first game, but they've got Devontae Adams, they've got Hunter Renfrow, they've got Josh Jacobs, which there's another negative in the game, our rushing defense. Where did that come from? How did we just get destroyed? I mean, Saquon Barkley looked like the Saquon Barkley coming out of Penn State. He didn't look like the Saquon Barkley we've seen in the NFL so far. He looked like the real deal Saquon Barkley. So maybe he's just a stud. Maybe he's just finally healthy and he's really hitting his stride. But our rush defense was just, we got gashed. I mean, the big play contributed a lot of that. The 60-yard run he broke off, but he still had like 100 and I think that was a 64-yard run. He had 168 total, 9.1 yards at carry. I mean, even like when we were mostly containing him, he was still knocking out 3 to 4 yards, just moving the ball, getting them into position to pick up first downs, which we didn't do. That's not going to get any easier next week. The Bills have decent running backs with Moss and Singletary, but Josh Jacobs, if he's healthy when they're coming in here, that's going to be trouble. And just go with that. And the next game we have that looks like I don't want to say safe matchup or an easy matchup would be the Commanders, and even them, they got a good win. Carson Wentz, some of the game looked like a good quarterback. Not all of the game, but some of the game he looked like a quarterback, and they won. We did not, so their defense is incredible. They've got a really good receiving core. They've got good running backs, so looking down the next couple of weeks of the Titans schedule, like not getting this win, not getting some momentum going there, and what we have coming up next, that is frightening, to say the least. Let's stop being negative. Let's finish up the sandwich. Let's put that last slice of positive, of pros on the bottom and wrap up here. Last week, we could not have looked worse in the first game of the season. The Cardinals came in here, wiped the floor with us. They looked like they were a team that might go to the Super Bowl, that Kyler Murray was the second coming of Joe Montana and was going to be the all-time new legend in the NFL. Chandler Jones looked like he was redefining how to be a pass rusher with 6 sacks in one game. And we recovered. We righted the ship. We came back, got some things fixed, got some adjustments made. And by the end of the season, we had ended up being the number 1 seed in the AFC. Everybody seems to forget that, for whatever you want to say about the way we've changed over some of the things in the team, for whatever you want to say about maybe there'll be some regression from some of our players, we are coming off a season where we were the best team in the AFC despite having played the most players ever in NFL history due to injuries. So I'm looking back at that Cardinals game and thinking, okay, that was a bad loss, but we recovered. We came back good, and the Cardinals ended up not being nearly as good as we thought they were. Once again, the Giants, not a very good team, a bad game to loss, but we've been here before. We've lost games we shouldn't have lost. For whatever reason, the Titans have always just been a team where they don't really blow teams out that you would think they're supposed to. Like, the only time I can really remember some blowouts recently, it's been games where we weren't even supposed to win the game. Last year against the Chiefs, we destroyed them. 2 years ago against Buffalo, we destroyed them. Whatever reason, this is just, I don't know if it's the way Vrabel coaches. I don't know if it's his motivation style. We get for the tough games than we do the not so tough games. We'll go in and we'll roll, a team that everybody has us favored to lose by 10 to, but game like yesterday, we're 5.5 point favorites, and we just kind of lackluster, out of rhythm, don't really ever get going. The Titans' MO in the variable era is to almost play down to the competition, so keep it positive. Similar thing happened last season in week one. It was actually worse last year in week one, so more positives coming out of this game than there were coming out of that game last year. And then just Vrabel himself, he's a positive. We've always been 9 wins or better, 2 straight division titles, 3 or 4 straight playoff appearances. I trust him as their head coach. I think he's the best one we've had since Fisher. I don't think that's a stretch. I think that's a pretty obvious statement to make, but I think he's going to do what needs to be done to get this team on the right track, to keep things steady, to make sure we stay in contention, to fix the problems that we have. So having him, I trust in Vrabel. I think he'll get it right. He'll figure it out. We'll be fine. Last one, got to throw out Burks. Look good. I think he's a project, obviously, so he's not, going to be he's got the tools, but anybody who's expecting him to come in the way like a Justin Jefferson came into the league, or Jamar Chase, and just immediately be a huge stud impact receiver, I think they're going to work. First of all, that's just not the Titan style play. They don't ever really put players in position to do that. AJ Brown's the best receiver we've ever had, and he was still barely breaking 1,000 yards total receiving yards a season. So not our MO to really have that type of player, but I think they're working with him. They're designing things to get the ball into his hand, because they know of our receiving core, he's the one who's got the chance to be the most special, to make big plays, to be the big-time game breaker, play breaker that we need. Definitely seems the Giants were sitting in the box a little bit more than we would like. We need to get somebody who can stretch the field to open that up a little bit more. That'll give Derrick Henry a little bit more breathing room. Burke showed me signs he can be that guy. Hopefully, as we progress in the season, they start to integrate him more and more, give him more chances to do those things, because it looks like he's got the tools to do it. If he can stay healthy, if he can keep progressing, keep learning, I think we've got a good guy on our hands in him in terms of having somebody in our receiver corps. Him and Kyle Phillips both being rookies, the veteran Robert Woods, NWI kind of now sliding into more just of kind of a veteran role. I like the receiver core. I think there's a lot of potential there that it can take a step forward and be maybe one of the best groups of receivers we've ever had if they take the right steps forward. I don't think they're there yet, but there's the potential. There's the progress there. The tight ends, they got to get involved more. I don't know why Jeff Swaim was like our number 1 tight end in this game. I don't know if it kind of seemed like maybe they don't trust the other two in the blocking scheme as much. So Swaim is getting more snaps because he's a better blocker, which I don't think he's that much better of a blocker. I don't think he's a good blocker necessarily, but I mean, maybe they're all three just so bad at blocking. Jeff Swaim's the lesser of 3 evils, but if we can find ways to get Cheek more involved, if we can find ways to get Austin Hooper more involved, the whole receiving core, I think, has potential to really be a good group, especially compared to, what we've had in the past. Because even with A.J. Brown in the last few years, he's been a one-man show. We brought in Julio Jones, and he was a walking corpse, and just really haven't had any complimentary receivers around A.J. in the years he was here. So it's almost more impressive what he did while we had him. So, but this group, I think, can be a more complete, more total package together group. It's got to get there yet. It's not there yet. Woods, he's coming off the ACL. Burks is progressing. Phillips is, doing what he needs to do right now. He had a bad drop in the game, too. That's going to happen. He's a rookie. So clean some things up, make the progress, keep it going. The receiving group, I think that was a big concern for a lot of people with A.J. Brown getting traded away, but I think I saw signs of hope there from the receivers, specifically from Burks. So it is what it is. It's only 1 game, a long season, 16 more games to go. But like I said, it's not getting any easier. The Buffalo Bills are coming up next week on Monday Night Football. Whew. We'll be at the Titans official season ticket holder watch party at Brooklyn Bowl for that game. I'll probably do a vlog for that, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel with the bell turned on for notifications so that if I do make a vlog of that, you'll get notified when that vlog goes live. And of any other vlogs that I make here or there. I don't know if I said this on the live stream that ever happened or if I said it somewhere else, but I got a couple non-sports vlogs planned that I'm going to try to get done this week. So you might see those coming up sometime later this week. But once again, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell on for notifications so that You never miss that. You never miss any of these live streams because the live streams are a crapshoot. I don't even know when they're going to happen because half the time I can't figure out how to get live. So I got it this time, though. Did a lot better than last night when I just talked to myself for 30 minutes and didn't broadcast it to the world. But thanks for joining. Thanks for watching.